Orphan, child with parents. Holly stepped shakily out of the bathroom to where Aaron stood, waiting anxiously. "I'm pregnant," she whispered in horror. Her husband went pale. "We can't tell anyone." I know. I saw what happened to Lily and Owen." Lily and Owen, two of the couple's closest friends. Lily had Alan pregnant 3 years ago and, with the threat of the INF-AMOS orphan virus still hanging quietly over Australia, the doctor had prescribed a precautionary course of medication for both parents. They died before their daughter had turned 1. Whether their death was in spite of the pills or because of them, no one knew. No one even seemed to wonder. No one except the horrified couple standing outside the bathroom door. Aaron was a doctor. Having seen the same results of 10 with his own patients, he'd concluded that the pills were deadly. Instead of raising alarm bells, he'd silently shifted his career path to a different field of medicine, one that didn't require prescribing the pills. He was afraid that if the people in charge ever figured out what he knew, he'd be as good as dead. "I wish abortion was legal," said Holly. "That would make things so much easier." "I know, but we shouldn't be worrying about things we can't do." Aaron rubbed his temples with his fingertips, trying to think clearly through the stress. "You need to go into hiding as soon as possible. We'll go on holiday somewhere tropical, and when we come back we'll say you caught an exotic illness and I'm looking after you. We'll build a basement and fit it out with everything our child will ever need. We'll forge a birth certificate so that by the time they're old enough to enter the world, no one will know they're ours. Can't we just say we adopted them?" Aaron shook his head. "The records are too well kept these days. No matter how carefully we plan, there's always the chance someone will find us out. It'll be safer to keep this baby out of the system until they're old enough to start a life of their own." Holly sighed and rested her hand protectively on her stomach. "I hope you're right. Trust me, I'll do whatever it takes to keep us safe, all 3 of us," said Aaron as he lovingly covered her hand with his. "I trust you," said Holly. "You know I do." Aaron smiled. "I love you. I love you, too." Orphan, child with parents. Boredom. Adam looked around his bedroom, fighting back tears. All the toys and gadgets imaginable were scattered across the floor, but none of them held his interest for very long anymore. He'd read all the books on his e-reader, studied every textbook, read every novel. His parents had promised to get him more of anything he asked for, but they'd broken their promise when he'd asked for something he didn't have. "I want a friend." Holly smiled at her son sympathetically. "You have me, you have Aaron, aren't we enough?" She never asked him to refer to her or her husband as Mum or Dad. It was safer in the long run to have him call them by name instead. "I want a friend my age," Adam clarified. "Age isn't important in a friendship," Holly reminded him gently. "I want to meet someone new." "You know that's not possible, Adam. Not with your condition." His condition was a lie Holly and Aaron had come up with when he'd started asking for things he couldn't have, to go outside or meet new people. They told him that when he was very young, they'd taken him outside and he'd had a panic attack so severe, they'd called a psychologist to see what had caused it. When the psychologist arrived, however, Adam had had another panic attack. In the end, he'd been diagnosed with severe agoraphobia and social anxiety, and to avoid further panic attacks, he was to stay inside with only his parents. Of course, none of that had ever happened, but they'd repeated the story enough for Adam to start believing it. "I'm older now," said Adam defiantly. "I'm 12, maybe I've grown out of it." Orphan, child with parents. Holly shook her head slowly. "No, I don't think so." "How do you know? I haven't even tried to go outside, let alone meet someone." Adam argued. "Orphan, child with parents. That's so you don't have another panic attack." I know you were too young to remember what it feels like, but trust me, you're better off keeping it that way. Fine, Adam spat and stormed off to his room. So, there he stood, looking around at all his stuff. Stuff that couldn't chase away the loneliness, the restlessness, the desire or more. Not more of the same, but more new experiences, new people and new environments. To put it simply, Adam was bored. And it was time he did something about it. That night, once Aaron and Holly were asleep, Adam crept out of his room and tried to open the front door. It was locked, as usual, and needed a key to be opened, even from the inside. Adam didn't know where the keys were kept, but he was determined to find out. He looked everywhere he could think of: kitchen cupboards, bathroom cabinets, Holly's handbag, yes. There they were, in the front pocket, beside her phone. As Adam reached for the keys, the phone buzzed with a notification. He almost ignored it, but then a thought occurred to him: just because he didn't have any access to the internet, didn't mean no one else did. Abandoning the keys, Adam snatched up the phone instead and hurried back downstairs to his room. He dove into bed, pulling the covers up over his head, and pushed a button on the side of the phone. The sudden light from the screen cast deep shadows across his face and the brightness burned his eyes. He squinted so he could read what was on the display. It was asking for a passcode. Adam's face fell. He tried typing in random combinations, but after too many failed attempts, the phone locked him out for a minute. He waited and then tried again. Eventually, the phone decided to lock him out for an hour, so he gave up. With a heavy sigh of defeat, Adam climbed out of bed and put the phone back where he found it. Settling back down under the covers to go to sleep, Adam had two realizations. Firstly, he hadn't been caught. Secondly, there were only so many combinations a 4-digit passcode could have. If he tried every one of them systematically, he was bound to get it right eventually. Adam smirked. He could almost feel the triumph of unlocking that phone, of seeing the lock screen give way and allowing him access to the outside world. Tomorrow night I'll try again, he promised himself before he drifted off to sleep. Orphan conspiracy. Orphan, child with parents. Orphan, child with parents. Runaway. Night after night Adam tried to break into Holly's phone until finally, it unlocked. Yes, he cheered as loud as he dared. He opened a browser and stared blankly at the search bar, unsure of what to type. Eventually, he decided to start by researching his condition and what could be done to resolve it. If he could avoid having panic attacks, he figured, his parents should let him go out and make friends. The problem was, the more he read about the symptoms, the less he recognized them. He couldn't remember ever having a panic attack. He didn't feel anxious about the thought of meeting new people or going outside. In fact, it sounded exciting. That realization drove his research into other territories. Were his parents trying to keep him hidden from the world? Were they lying to him about his condition? Why would they do that? As much as he hated the idea, he could only come up with one answer that made sense to him: he'd been kidnapped. A wave of panic shocked Adam into action. He dove out from under his blankets and yanked open his wardrobe, gathering some clothes into his arms. Then he realized he didn't have a bag to put them in. Dejected, he let go of the clothes, letting them fall to the carpet. Instead, he got dressed in a single outfit. He had no shoes to speak of, since he never went outside, so he pulled on an extra layer of socks. Pocketing Holly's phone, he retrieved her keys from her bag and headed for the front door. Just as he unlocked it, he heard someone emerge from his parents' room, if he could even call them that anymore. Adam hid the keys in his other pocket and darted away from the door, but he didn't make it back to his room in time. "Adam," said Aaron, surprised. "What are you doing up at this hour?" I was just going to use the bathroom, Adam stuttered. Aaron frowned. Is there something wrong with the one downstairs? No, it's fine, Adam said quickly, thinking of the clothes scattered on his bedroom floor. What are you doing up? Getting a drink, Aaron replied. He started walking again and motioned for Adam to follow him. Come, let's talk. Adam's heart pounded faster in his chest as he followed his potential kidnapper into the kitchen. Aaron poured himself a glass of water and leant against the bench while Adam stood rigidly in the middle of the room. Aaron took a long drink from the glass. He swallowed and said, I've been hearing a lot of movement around the house at night lately. Has that been you, Adam? Yes. Adam saw no point in lying. Who else could it have been? I don't mean to pry, but I'm curious as to what you've been doing. Adam's mind went blank. He could barely remember what he had been doing, let alone think up a lie. Finally, he said, I'm just bored. Aaron sighed and tipped his head back. Holly and I are giving you everything we can. Adam's gray eyes narrowed. Are you? Of course we are. Look, I don't want to get into this argument again. Why? Because you'll figure out you're not doing enough. Adam. You've given me everything I've never asked for, Aaron, can't you see that? All I have is distractions. Distractions from what? Aaron asked, taken aback. From not having freedom. Not having friends. Adam's voice was growing louder. He heard a second set of footsteps and moments later, Holly appeared in the doorway to the kitchen. This isn't a house, it's a prison. You're a terrible effatter. And you, he spat, rounding on Holly, you're a terrible mother. In fact, I don't think either of you are my real parents. Holly and Aaron paled with shock. What's that supposed to mean? Holly asked. Why have you kept me hidden my whole life? It was for your own good, said Aaron. With your condition. I've been researching my condition and I don't think I have it anymore. You know what, I don't think I ever did. I think you made it up. Why would we do such a thing? Holly challenged him. I don't know, maybe because you kidnapped me, so you had to think of an excuse for me to hide from the world. Holly gasped. No, Adam, no. That's not what happened. That's exactly what a kidnapper would say. How have you been researching this, Adam? Asked Aaron. That's none of your business. I think it is, said Aaron. Nothing we've given you has access to the internet, so what did you steal? You're accusing me of stealing. Adam scoffed. That's rich, coming from a kidnapper. We didn't kidnap you, Adam, Holly insisted. Says who? Adam spat. Calm down, said Aaron. Let us explain. You're not kidnapped, you're our son, but I don't want any more of your lies. Adam screamed. Before either of his so-called parents could react, he turned and sprinted for the front door. He heard them shout with surprise as he opened it and bolted into the night. The fresh air, though too cold against his bare arms to be comfortable, was sweet and clean in a way he'd never experienced before. He could feel the uneven ground through his socks as he ran. The cool wind brushed against his face in a way that a ceiling fan never had. Adam laughed aloud in pure joy and picked up the pace. He watched the houses race past him, barely illuminated by the orange glow of the street lamps. He wasn't running on the spot like he always had on his treadmill, he was moving. He was free. Behind him, Adam heard two sets of footsteps. He glanced over his shoulder to see Holly and Aaron racing after him. They were gaining on him with their longer legs and broader strides. Panicking, Adam veered left towards the row of houses beside him. He didn't know what he planned to do, knock on a door, perhaps, but no, that might take too long. Adam jumped over someone's low garden wall and ran across the flower beds towards their house. He threw a glance over his shoulder. The kidnappers were close enough to catch him if he stopped at the front door, so he dashed down the side of the house towards the back. His feet caught on something and he went down, scraping his hands and knees on the concrete. Adam cried out in pain and fear. Those two sets of footsteps were almost upon him. He tried to get up, but something was still twisted around his ankle. He reached down to free himself from what looked like a garden hose. A weapon, perhaps. It was too late to run now. Adam looked around for the tap it was connected to, found it, and turned it on as far as it would go. Water gushed from the end of the hose, spraying jets of water everywhere just as his kidnappers rounded the corner. Already soaked to the skin, Adam gathered up the hose in his arms, finding the nozzle and directing the jets right into his kidnappers' eyes as they loomed over him. Blinded by the force of the water, the two adults staggered backwards, hands covering their faces. Adam took the opportunity to drop the hose, allowing it to writhe wildly on the ground again like an angry green snake, and run to the backyard. He threw open the side gate and whacked his knee on the dog's kennel, setting a round of booming barks from the dog inside, but he didn't stop. Scaling the chain-link back fence, he dropped down on the other side and ran parallel to the neighboring houses, then climbed over another back fence on his way back to the main street, hoping his kidnappers would have expected him to try to stay hidden. On and on he ran. He didn't slow down until his lungs and his legs screamed at him to stop. Only then did Adam finally allow himself to double over on the footpath, panting hard. Once he'd caught his breath, he looked around to see if his kidnappers had managed to follow him, but they were nowhere in sight. Relief flooded through him. He must have shaken them of Satisfied that he was at least temporarily safe, he sat down on the pavement and pulled Holly's phone out of his pocket, hoping it hadn't been damaged by the water from the hose. The screen lit up when he pressed a button. So far, so good. He unlocked it and scrolled through the apps, looking for anything useful. The one with the map seemed like a good place to start, so he opened it. It showed him his location, along with other things like bus stops, post offices, police stations, hospitals. Police stations. Perf ECT. Adam looked up the route to the closest one and stood up. Using the phone as his guide, he set of shivering, through the dark, chilly night to make his kidnappers pay for what they'd done. Orphan, child with parents. In good hands. When Adam reached the police station, it was closed. What? He exclaimed to no one. That's not fair. Frustrated and exhausted, he sat down on the front steps and waited, his teeth chattering as the cold air from the concrete seeped through the seat of his jeans, chilling his whole body. At least he was almost dry now. It felt like forever before he saw a car pull up, but as the sky began to lighten, that's exactly what happened. The car parked in a spot marked, staff only, and Adam leapt to his feet, his breath catching in his throat as he walked over to greet the driver. The man who climbed out of the car wore a rather severe expression, but Adam wasn't intimidated by it. Police were severe people, right? Adam saw no reason to expect him to look friendly. Good morning, sir, said Adam. The police officer looked at him, surprised. Good morning, can I help you? Yes. Adam took a deep breath. I believe I was kidnapped as a baby. I've just escaped the house I've been imprisoned in all my life. The officer's eyebrows shot up. Really, what house would that be, then? Adam opened his mouth to answer, but realized he didn't know the address, so he closed it again. Then he said, the one that Holly and Aaron Jeff Ray live in. Aha, the officer nodded slowly. And what's their address? Can't you look it up? You're a policeman, don't you know everything that happens around here? The officer's severe expression changed to one of wry amusement. Right, the police are all-knowing gods, are they? He muttered something that sounded like, children, and started walking. He motioned for an embarrassed Adam to follow. Come in and we'll talk. Adam fell into step beside the officer, UNF Amelia, emotions churning in his stomach. What's your name? The officer asked as he unlocked the police station's front door. Adam. What's yours? Samuel, the officer replied as he stepped inside. Adam followed Samuel to a rather bare room. All it had inside were two hardback chairs and a sturdy desk between them. There was a mirror along one wall, which, based on all the movies he'd watched, Adam assumed was Ownway, but since he and Samuel were the only two people in the building, he knew no one was watching from the other side. Samuel sat in one chair and silently offered Adam the other. Adam sat on the edge of the seat and clasped his hands in his lap. So, Samuel began, kidnapped, you say? That's a pretty big accusation to be making. I know, but I can't think of any other way to explain my pair, Holly and Aaron's behavior, said Adam. Samuel's dark eyes sparked with interest and he leaned forward in his chair. These people were claiming to be your parents, were they? Yes. I see. Samuel nodded thoughtfully. I've worked on other cases like this around Griffith, though usually the kidnapped children are younger than you or when they're discovered. How did your kidnappers keep you hidden for so long? Adam explained his living situation, the basement bedroom, not being allowed outside or on the internet, his so-called condition, the homeschooling, everything that had kept him hidden from the world all his life. Samuel listened intently. I see, Samuel said again. That is interesting. So can you arrest them? Asked Adam. Not immediately, said Samuel, and Adam's face fell. I need evidence, and I need to find the people in question, of course. So, what will happen to me in the meantime? I'll take you somewhere you can stay. Samuel stood up, and Adam did the same. Come with me. Adam followed Samuel back to the car and they both sat in the front seats. Samuel glanced at Adam in confusion, but given what he'd learned about the boy's upbringing, he ignored the odd seating choice. Where are we going? Adam asked as Samuel pulled out of the parking spot. To a place called the orphanage, Samuel replied. It's run by a woman named Deborah. Okay. Are you sure you can't tell me anything about where your kidnappers are? Asked Samuel. I'm sure. I only ever saw the house from the inside. The only time I was outside it, I was running away and I didn't exactly look back. Sorry. No matter, said Samuel. I'll find them. Silence fell over the remainder of the drive. For the first time, Adam felt nervous about going somewhere new. Would the people there like him? Would he be safe there? Yes, of course, Adam answered his own questions. Why shouldn't they like him? Why shouldn't it be safe? Doubt tried to creep in again, but he didn't let it. He held on to his line of confidence with a fierce stubbornness. During his internal tug-of-war, Adam had been staring blankly out the window. He started paying attention to the scenery again when it changed dramatically. The quaint suburban houses had given way to a tunnel of tall, beautiful trees. Adam gazed up at the green canopy in awe, wishing the roof of the car would disappear so he could see more of it. The morning sunlight filtered through the leaves, dusting everything below with flecks of gold. Through a gap in the trees, Adam caught a glimpse of a large building. Excitement and nerves bubbled inside him, and he bounced his knee to expel some of the excess energy. Samuel threw him a curious glance but said nothing. They pulled up outside the building and climbed out of the car. The morning sunlight warmed Adam's face as he fell into step beside Samuel. Side by side, they walked up the front steps and Samuel knocked on the door. It was opened moments later by a young woman. When she laid eyes on Samuel, her curious expression gave way to a scowl. Oh, hi, Samuel, she said flatly. Her gaze drifted to Adam, lingered there for a moment, then flicked back to the police officer. New trainee, he's a bit young, isn't he? And where are his shoes? she added, throwing another brief glance at Adam's sock-clad feet. He's not a trainee. Can I speak to Deborah, please? The young woman looked over her shoulder and called, "Deb, Samuel." Then, without so much as a goodbye, she walked up the stairs beside her, out of sight. Another woman approached them almost immediately after the first disappeared. She was older than the first, probably by a decade or two, but still looked as though she could consider herself young. "Deborah," Samuel greeted her. "This is Adam. He has an interesting story to tell. May we come in?" "Certainly," said Deborah. She led them to the lounge room and offered all them to choose a couch. When they were all seated comfortably, she turned her attention to Adam and asked, "So, Adam, was it?" He nodded, so she continued, sounding pleased with herself, "Oh, good. So, Adam, what's your story?" He told her what he'd told Samuel. Deborah reacted exactly how he would have expected, almost too exactly, but Adam ignored that thought. "How old are you?" Deborah asked. 12. "Wow," she breathed. "Your kidnappers did very well to keep you under the radar for so long. But they've failed now, right? I'm free of them." "Yes, you're free," said Deborah, to Adam's relief. "I'll keep you safe from them, don't you worry. And I'll make sure they never have the chance to kidnap anyone else," said Samuel. "You're in good hands now." "Thank you," Adam said to them both. Deborah smiled. "You're welcome, Aaron." "Adam," he corrected her. "Aaron was my so-called dad." "Oh, not again," she chided herself. "Sorry, Adam." Samuel rose to his feet. "I need to go. Clock is ticking." "Yes, of course," said Deborah as she and Adam stood up too. "I'll see you out." The three of them made their way to the front door. Deborah and Adam bid Samuel farewell, then watched him drive away. As they did so, Adam felt a cold sense of satisfaction settle over his shoulders. Holly and Aaron would be sorry they ever stole him. Adam held his head a little higher at the thought. "Would you like me to show you to your room, Adam?" Deborah offered. "Sure," he replied. She led him up the stairs the young woman had used earlier. It opened out into a long hallway full of doors, most of which were closed. As they walked down it, one of the doors opened and the young woman from before stepped out, almost crashing into Adam. "Sorry," she apologized. She looked at him with no sign of recognition. "When did you get here?" "This morning," Adam said slowly. "You opened the door for me." At this, the young woman laughed. "No, sorry, that must have been my twin. You'll get used to us, don't worry." She waved farewell and walked away, disappearing down the stairs. Deborah chuckled. "Sorry about that, I should have warned you." "That's fine," Adam said distractedly, still trying to wrap his head around the concept of identical twins. He'd seen them in movies, but even so, he was unprepared for the shock of seeing double in real life. Deborah opened a door a few rooms down to reveal Adam's new bedroom. Compared to the one he used to have, this one felt downright empty. There was a bed with no sheets, a wardrobe and a desk and chair. Nothing more, no toys, no gadgets. Nothing. Instead of disappointment, Adam felt an overwhelming relief. Nothing in this room was trying to buy his affection. "I'll set it up properly for you, of course," Deborah said quickly, not noticing the grin that was creeping across Adam's face. "I know it doesn't feel very homely right now, but I love it." "Pardon?" Adam turned to Deborah and said clearly, "I love it." Deborah blinked in surprise. "Okay, then, that's good." Adam grinned wider and ran at the bare mattress, leaping onto it with his limbs spread wide, landing face down. His joyful shout was muffled. "Freedom!" He rolled over and sat up. "How many people are here? Can I meet them?" Deborah broke her stunned silence to reply, "There are 6 children here, not including you. And of course you can meet them." Yay! Adam sprung to his feet and raced out the door. "No running inside," Deborah chided him. Adam slowed his pace, but when he reached the end of the hallway, he bounded down the stairs 2 at a time. He bounced from room to room until he found people to meet. The twins and a blonde boy who looked around Adam's age were having breakfast in the dining room. The twins were deep in conversation at one end of the table and the boy sat alone at the other. Adam sat next to the boy. "Hi, what's your name?" The boy jumped, startled out of his daydream, and looked at Adam. "Who are you?" "I'm Adam, I just got here." "Oh, okay, I'm Charlie." "Hi, Charlie." Adam didn't know what to say after that. The silence between them was on the verge of growing awkward when Charlie asked, "Have you eaten yet? I can show you where the breakfast stuff is if you like." "Could you please? I'm hungry." "Follow me," said Charlie. He picked up his bowl of cereal and the boys stood up. Then he led Adam to the kitchen and opened the cupboard. "That shelf there is the breakfast shelf. Basically, you have the choice of cereal or toast." He closed the cupboard and opened the fridge. "If you want cereal, you have a choice of rice milk or soy milk to put on it. If you want toast, there's margarine and whatever jam Debbie felt like buying when she was shopping all the week." He closed the fridge and walked across the kitchen, Adam in tow. "The toaster lives on the bottom shelf of this cupboard. And that's about it for breakfast stuff. Thanks, Charlie." Charlie smiled. "No problem." Adam went to pour himself a bowl of cereal, but stopped in the middle of the kitchen, cereal box in hand as he looked around. Charlie noticed his confusion. "Oh, right, bowls are in that cupboard," he said as he pointed, "and spoons are in the top drawer over there." Adam gave Charlie a nod of thanks and finished making breakfast. As the 2 boys made their way back to the dining table to eat, Adam decided he wanted Charlie to be his first new friend.